Hello and welcome back to another research recap. My name is Lisa, I'm your host. I am the owner and operator of Nutrition Coaching and Life, where we help people lose body fat, increase their muscle mass, improve their body composition and their relationship with food. Today I'm going to be talking about a study that was reviewed in the January issue of Body by Science, my favorite research review, as most of you know by now. I will put the link in the show notes. And the study was titled, or the article was titled, Aggressive Dieting Strategies for Postmenopausal Women, More Fat Loss, but at What Cost? Really interesting question. I look forward to getting into it with you today. Before I do so, though, do me a favor: if you enjoy this research recap or any other of our content, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, comment on certain things. I love interacting with the listeners. So the study that they actually reviewed was titled Effect of Weight Loss via Severe versus Moderate Energy Restriction on Lean Mass and Body Composition Among Postmenopausal Women with Obesity, the Tempo Diet Randomized Clinical Trial by Seimon et al. Super interesting. All right, so let's get right into it. The background information is the following. Over the past few years, Bill, have changed my opinion concerning aggressive dieting. Not too many years ago, I thought any form of dieting or aggressive dieting should be avoided. Not any kind of diet, but aggressive diet. The rationale for my complete prohibition of extreme or aggressive dieting was because of the harm these types of diets have on muscle mass and metabolic rate. People who diet aggressively for too long lose muscle mass and suppress their metabolic rates. When dieters lose muscle mass and suppress their metabolism because of severe dieting practices, it sets them up for post-diet failure because they quickly regain a lot of body fat. A loss of muscle mass and reduction in metabolic rate often causes hyperphagia and extreme desire to eat, and subsequently fat overshoot. When the person accumulates body fat in a short period of time, post-diet, and results in having more body fat than what they had before they started their diet. But is it that simple? The more I read on the topic, the more I started to read some research about people with obesity losing weight very quickly. They were more motivated and encouraged to stick with their diets because of the early weight loss success that the aggressive dieting caused, resulting in long-term weight loss maintenance outcomes in some cases. This is where it is important to have some context. The research I was reading was not permissive of crash diets that lasted for months upon months. Rather, the data suggested that losing a lot of body weight early in the dieting process caused long-term weight maintenance success. Here's what the authors of a narrative review study concluded on this topic. Collectively, findings indicate both short and long-term advantages to fast initial weight loss. Fast weight losers obtained greater weight reduction and long-term maintenance and were not more susceptible to weight regain than gradual weight losers. If true, we must consider that this fat loss strategy for our clients who may respond favorably to such methods. The study we're reviewing in this issue puts this approach to the test. The researchers randomized postmenopausal women with overweight and obesity to a moderate calorie-restricted diet for 12 months or a severe calorie-restricted diet initially, first 4 months, which transitioned into a moderate calorie-restricted diet for the final 8 months. So let's look at who was in the study. 101 postmenopausal women between the ages of 45 and 65 years. The average age, therefore, was 58 years. To be eligible for the study, subjects had to be at least 5 years postmenopausal and be sedentary. At baseline, the average body composition values for the subjects were the following: 200 pounds, so 91 kilos, and BMI of 34.5, and a body fat percentage of 47. Now, what did the researchers do? The researchers, I didn't include that. The researchers randomized the women to one of the following two groups for 12 months. Either the severe diet group, so they started with a severe calorie-restricted diet and then transitioned to a moderate calorie-restricted diet, or a moderate diet group, meaning a prescribed moderate calorie-restricted diet for the entire study duration. You can see that here in the paragraph. or diagram, sorry. Now, the diet details. The moderate diet prescribed to the subjects called for an approximate 30% calorie deficit relative to estimated energy expenditure for 52 weeks. This was achieved using a food-based diet. The food choices were based on 5 core food groups: vegetables, fruits, grains and cereals, meat and meat alternatives, and reduced fat dairy. The severe diet group was prescribed an approximate 70% of calorie deficit for the first 4 months, followed by a moderate energy restricted diet that reduced calories by about 30% for the remaining 8 months. The same diet that the moderate diet group followed, essentially. During the 4 months severe calorie restricted diet, the subjects were placed on a total meal replacement diet that consisted of meal replacement shakes, meal replacement soups, and supplemented with whey protein isolate. During the study, both diet groups were prescribed a daily protein intake of 0.45 grams per pound of weight, body weight. To increase the adherence to the diet, the subjects attended individual dietary appointments with the dietitian research staff every 2 weeks for the first 26 weeks of the study, and then approximately every month until the study was finished. Now, talking about exercise details. So the subjects were encouraged to gradually increase their daily steps to 8,000 and then to 12,000, including 30 to 60 minutes of vigorous physical activity. Although the step count and vigorous activity were encouraged, they were not supervised by the researchers, which means that the subjects likely did not engage in the exercise they were encouraged to do. What physique-related outcome variables were measured? The primary outcome of this study was body composition. Body composition measured via DEXA was assessed at baseline after 4 months of dieting and at the end of the 12-month intervention. The researchers could also measure visceral fat since DEXA was used as the body composition device. Let's talk about visceral fat for a second. We have 2 general types of fat in our bodies. We have subcutaneous fat and we have visceral fat. When someone says they want to lose some body fat, they are referring to subcutaneous body fat. Subcutaneous means under the skin, which is the body fat we can pinch. It is the type of fat that nearly everyone thinks of when they want to lose body fat. Visceral fat, on the other hand, is fat that is stored deep within the body around the liver, intestines, stomach, and other internal organs. It's healthy and expected to have some visceral fat, but too much visceral fat is not good for you. It comes with more risk for disease and stroke, diabetes, and other health problems. Since some of us work with midlife women and their menopausal transition, I want to point out that there is a marked increase in visceral fat accumulation during menopause. In addition to body composition, the researchers here assessed bone mineral density at several locations, including whole body bone mineral density, total hip bone mineral density, femoral neck, and the lumbar spine. Now, what were the results? According to the study's authors, the investigation's primary purpose was to determine if an initial severe calorie-restricted diet that then tapered to a moderate calorically restricted diet caused more lean mass losses compared to a consistent moderate calorie deficit diet. The secondary aims of the study were to look at differences in whole body fat losses, visceral fat body loss, and bone mineral density changes. Whenever I read a study that prescribes a severe or very aggressive diet, I always wonder how many subjects can stick with the diet and finish the study. Researchers refer to this as attrition rates. In some cases, the attrition rates, so the number of subjects that voluntarily withdraw from the study in weight loss studies, can be quite high. For this study, I would not have been surprised if half of the subjects assigned to the severe diet group withdrew from the study. Reducing calories by 70% for 4 months is a near starvation diet, and 4 months is a long time. For the moderate diet group, I would have anticipated about 1/3 of them dropping out of the study. So, how many subjects withdrew from the study? Not very many. One of the originally 101 subjects that started the study, 85 of them completed the study. 3 times more subjects withdrew from the study from the moderate diet group than the severe diet group, so that's another surprise here. I want to make another point. The researchers did not make any effort to document if the subjects actually followed their prescribed diet. They did not instruct the subjects to record any food records or track macros. I believe the subjects did diet. We can prove this by looking at what happened to their body weight during the study, but without any validation of actual caloric intakes, we don't know to what extent they followed their prescribed diets. In my opinion, based on years of weight loss research experience, the subjects likely did not follow the prescribed diets 100% according to plan. Reducing one's calories by 30% for 12 months is a long time to adhere to. Also, reducing one's calories by 70% for 4 months seems like an extremely long time to follow such an aggressive, very low calorie intake protocol. Regardless of what may have happened, one group was instructed to diet aggressively for the first 4 months and then transition to a more moderate diet, whereas the other group was asked to diet moderately for the entire year-long study duration. So now let's see what happens to body composition. Both groups lost a significant amount of body weight during the study. However, the severe diet group lost more body weight than the moderate diet group at every time and point in which it was assessed: 4 months, 1 month, 4 months, 6 months, and 12 months. Based on this body weight data, it is clear that the rapid initial severe diet approach was highly successful. In general, twice as much body weight was lost at every point in time in which it was measured. Also, the severe diet group subjects were nearly 3 times more likely to lose 10% of their initial weight than the moderate group. We see a similar outcome for body fat, where the severe diet group lost significantly more compared to the moderate group. This data heavily favors the initial aggressive dieting strategy that the severe diet followed during the study. Not only did they lose significantly more body weight during the first 4 months, which would be expected since they were dieting more aggressively, but they also maintained their body fat loss advantage for the entire study duration. As we look at the muscle mass data, however, we see for the first time a disadvantage for the severe diet group compared to the moderate diet group. The severe diet group lost significantly more muscle mass at each time. The severe diet group lost significantly more muscle mass at each time point compared to the moderate diet group. Is this outcome surprising? I don't think so. More aggressive diets typically result in more body fat loss, but also more muscle mass losses as well, which is precisely what was observed in this study. Before we further interpret this data, let's get a complete picture of what happened to the bone mineral density as well. So bone mineral density, there were no significant differences between the severe and the moderate dieting groups for the whole body, lumbar spine, and femoral neck bone mineral density measures. In contrast, the severe diet group lost significantly more total hip bone mineral density than the moderate dieting group. Also, there was a significant increase in the number of participants with osteopenia at the femoral neck in the severe diet group, but not the moderate diet group. Specifically, the number of osteopenia diagnoses at the femoral neck increased from 16% to 39% of the subjects in the severe dieting group, and only 5% increase in the moderate dieting group. So here is Bill's interpretation of the data. The severe diet group lost approximately 1.5 more muscle mass than the moderate dieting group. This is not good. However, the researchers pointed out that this additional loss of muscle mass was proportional to the weight loss. They lost more muscle mass because they were more successful in losing total body weight. I always look to look at the composition of the weight lost from any dieting structure. Of course, we want our clients to lose 100% of their body weight from body fat and 0% from lean mass. While my lab typically achieves this outcome in our dieting studies, the broader obesity research investigations usually report that 25% of weight loss comes from lean mass tissue, and 75% comes from body fat tissue. In this study, the proportion of lean mass lost was exactly this. The severe diet group lost 25% of their body weight from lean mass and 75% from fat mass. But what about the moderate diet group? It was nearly the same. They lost 73% of their total body weight from fat mass and 27% from lean mass. So when you look at the loss of muscle mass from this perspective, there was not much of a difference in the proportion of muscle to fat loss during this study. The bone mineral density data was mostly equivalent to the two diet groups. However, one of the measures, so the total hip, was compromised more in the severe diet group compared to the moderate diet group. What was odd about this data was that it worsened as the study continued. If the severe dieting were responsible for this additional loss of bone mineral density in the hip, we would have expected this to have manifested during the first 4 months of the study when the severe dieting occurred. But this was different from what happened. There were no differences in total hip mineral bone density until the end of the study. This makes me think that there could have been differences in the amounts of physical activity between the groups. So for example, the moderate group may have done more exercise than the severe group. Unfortunately, we don't know for sure since the researchers did not collect this data. The obvious benefit was the amount of body fat the severe diet group lost during the study. When you look at the timeline of the body fat losses, it is clear that most of the fat loss in this group happened during the first 4 months of the study when they were in a severe calorie deficit. For the rest of the study, they maintained their body fat losses, which was also true for the moderate dieting group. One of the biggest surprises to me was the subject dropout rate. I would have thought that many of the severe diet group subjects would have quit due to the severity of the diet, but that is not what happened. There was more attrition, so more subjects who quit, in the moderate diet group compared to the severe diet group. The subjects in the severe diet group were 3 times less likely to quit the study compared to those in the moderate diet group. The researchers indicated that this could have been due to the large and rapid weight loss associated with the severe calorie restriction, and that this was very encouraging and motivating to these subjects and gave them more resolve to continue dieting and remain in the study. Hang on. Now let's talk about the study's strengths and limitations. So one of the strengths was the length of the study and the attrition rates. A 12-month study, such as the timeline for this diet intervention, is a long time for a weight loss study. Most weight loss studies are short. One of the common findings of longer-term weight loss studies is the greater likelihood that subjects withdraw from the study. Many subjects don't want to diet for more than a short period, or life events can interfere with one's ability to continue in a long-term study. Given the length of this diet intervention, 1 year, the number of subjects who withdrew from the study was surprisingly low. Only 14% of the subjects withdrew from the study. Another strength was that they standardized protein intakes. The researchers standardized protein intakes to 0.45 grams of protein per pound of body weight for all subjects. That was a great idea because we know how powerful protein intake is with respect to changing body composition outcomes. All weight loss studies should standardize protein intake like this study did. Then some limitations were that there was no reporting of dietary intake data. The subjects were not required to track their caloric intake during the study. The researchers made the statement: since the use of food diaries to measure adherence to prescribed diet is difficult to assess because of missing dietary records and underreporting amongst participants with overweight and obesity. Weight loss was used to monitor adherence to the diets. Basically, the researchers say that subjects don't do a good job of tracking their calories, and they often underreport what they eat. As a fat loss researcher myself, I agree with this sentiment. Still, I also know that the amount of time and attention that research teams invest into this data directly correlates with the quality of the calorie and dietary intake data obtained. The researchers are correct in that we can get a pretty good idea of diet adherence by looking at body weight changes, but it would have been nice to know the reported calorie intakes of the subjects and to determine if they followed the protein instructions. Another disadvantage or limitation was that fat mass and muscle mass data do not equate to the body weight data. So this one is quite tricky. Many, if not most, weight loss studies will report data that does not add up. For example, a study will report that subjects lost 10 pounds of body weight and then also report that they lost 7 pounds of body fat and 1 pound of lean mass. What about the other 2 pounds? The same thing happened in this study, where the amount of body fat and lean mass losses did not add up to the same amount of body weight loss that was reported. In most cases, this difference is due to fluid changes and how they account for bone mass or even rounding errors. And then lastly, another limitation was that no measurement of physical activity levels. So the subjects were encouraged to gradually increase their step counts to 8,000 and then to 12,000 daily, including 30 to 60 minutes of vigorous physical activity. That was great, but the researchers did not validate whether the subjects did this. At a minimum, asking the subjects to record their steps and time spent doing vigorous physical activity would have been fine. What if one of the diet groups had almost all of their subjects complete the recommended exercise protocol, such as the moderate diet group, since they were not placed on extremely low calories, and most of the subjects in the other group did not do the recommended exercise? Would this have an impact on the weight loss outcomes of the study? Of course it would. Unfortunately, we cannot make interference about the effects of exercise since no data was collected. Right, that was a lot to take in. So now I am simply curious, what are your thoughts on aggressive dieting strategies for fat loss? Have you done any aggressive diets in the past yourself? What was your experience in terms of adherence, cravings, post-diet, weight overshoot with this? I personally have not engaged in any severe or extreme aggressive, very low calorie diets. I have tried many diets, but not in such a low calorie state. And with our clients, we generally, of course, there's always exceptions to the rule, but we generally prefer a more moderate approach as well, in order to be able to work on the relationship with food, work on how do we incorporate social eating, work on how do we actually do this long term. But the greater the amount of body fat someone has, the more aggressive you normally can be without seeing those immediate effects on the body. So if someone's pretty lean already and they do an aggressive diet for that amount of time, I mean, we're not talking about 6 weeks, we're talking about 4 months plus 8 months, then their hunger signals are going to kick up eventually. Or if they're very lean already, they would be ravenous probably. But if you've got more to lose, then your body is usually a little bit more giving, and also more giving when it comes to not dropping quite as much lean mass as an already lean person would perhaps. But yeah, I'm super interested to hear what your experience or thoughts are on this and what you generally think of this study or this review. Again, shout out to Body by Science. This is Bill Campbell's research review, just such a wonderful review that reviews 2 studies every single month. It's only $7.99 or something like that per month. I love it. I also love Alan Aragon's research review or the Mass Research review. So go check all of them out if you enjoy reading these kinds of reviews. Thank you so much for listening. It's been a true pleasure having you here with me, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.